Here we are. We're live. Hello. Welcome to MindBody TV, everyone. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo. So grateful to be here, and I want to thank my sweet husband for getting me all set up in this beautiful, beautiful spot. We are in Mexico. We've been all learning Spanish for the month. Yo soy bien. Estoy bien. I got poquito Spanish. It's been really, really fun and so beautiful and such a journey to be here. So I'm really grateful. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. I am going to speak today about a very powerful topic that is certainly pertinent to everyone who is on a journey of awakening. Creative manifestation, activating the master in you. And so as creative beings, we are in fact electromagnetic. We are creative, and we can allow the source energy that creates us, that comes through us, that is with us in every moment, to come through to a higher degree for ourselves, for our life, for our healing, for our body. And we can have obstacles to that creative flow. And so whether you're dealing with health problems, money problems, relationship problems, energy, right? Not enough energy, not enough time. It is always up to us to release what are the obstacles to that creative flow. We are meant to live in wholeness, in vitality, in fulfillment, that what gets created through us is nurturing us. And so just like our nature is abundance, right? Like the earth is abundant with all kinds of food, fruits and vegetables and all kinds of food, water, everything that replenishes us. We're meant to live in that receptive, connected state. And so where am I blocking that? Where am I closing instead of being open to that source energy to come through? Where am I not being a great receiver? That will always show up as the lack, the limitation, the health problems that aren't getting better no matter what I do. The opportunities just never works out for me, versus amazing synchronicities of like right place, right time. Wow, that was incredible. I couldn't have planned that better if I tried. And letting life source us. And so I'd love to hear, yes, where you're tuning in from, and also what is it you would love to see manifest in your life? Because what you want wants you. When it's a heart's desire and we're listening to that yearning and that yes, it means it's in our vicinity. The heart has neurosensory receptors for that information. Like, whoa, something else is possible. Let me go in this direction. It's not going to call us through fear, desperation, right? But we may feel that closure as desperation, fear, lack. But the heart is going to call us through inspiration. And so we're going to connect with that. And I will share a process today for how do we activate that creative manifestation. And we do have resources on my website, drkimd.com, if you are ready to go further in this journey. And so one of those resources was created for people with chronic fatigue, chronic illness. Nothing I do is, I'm not getting better no matter what I do. And it's just lack and work and suffering. And so to change that pattern, there are very particular exercises to activate creative mastery. And if you are already connected with the source that creates us, it's got you covered, whether it's MS or cancer, or it's autoimmune disease, or it's some obscure, no one even knows what it is disease. The wisdom in you and the source that creates you has got you covered. And it's not about, oh, well, if it's this disease, then I have to do this thing. And if it's that disease, then I have to do that thing. It's more about taking the journey into yourself, into your system, to remove the obstacles, to allow health to flow. And so that program, for people who do want to go forward with that, I will offer that today as well. It's called the MindBody Solution for Chronic Fatigue, but it's geared for all chronic illnesses, situations that aren't getting better no matter what you do. And that's at drkimd.com/CF, just so I make sure to share that resource with you. There we go. I will put that in the chat. All right, so we've got, hello, Kim from North Carolina, Claudia from Germany, Sarah from Minnesota, Mary Kay from Southern California, Jane from Connecticut, Janet from Minnesota, a lot of Minnesota, Heidi from Colorado, Azur from Canada, Jaria from Vancouver, BC, Patty from New York, Tanya from Serbia, welcome, Luisa from Dominican Republic, Shaya from New York, Gitit from Israel. Jaria, I already feel lighter and happier just hearing your voice. Thank you. Jermaine from Colorado Springs, Sylvia Ruiz, hola desde Mexico. And you're in Mexico? Rita, hello. Thank you. Luisa said, I so need this today. All right, Rensselaer, New York. Mary Kay, I would love to live in abundant health and energy and peace, to have my adrenals, thyroid, and nervous system to be balanced. Great. And I want you to see how that is a different frequency from where we sometimes go with it, like, oh, this is happening and that is happening, more in the complaint. When we can go to the ask, that's when we've opened up receivership. Oh, I would love to have fill in the blank. I'd love to have health and vitality, well-being, my body's working well, because when we do that, we get into the energy of the solution. We get into the frequency of the wish fulfilled. It's a very, very different process from, not that there's anything wrong with it, but when we're in the complaint, and my this and my that and my fibromyalgia, and then this person told me that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's okay to give ourselves space and compassion to feel how challenging it has been. And there's a major exercise in the MindBody Solution for chronic fatigue and chronic illness that does exactly that. Because until we resolve that, we can't embrace this. We've actually got to digest the grungy before we let it go. Just like you eat your food and you've got to let it poop out before you can receive more food. If you just hold on to it all, you won't absorb more nutrients. So this is a major, major important part of the process that I think gets missed, is like, how do I digest my experience? And as we've seen scientifically, where so many people with adult severe chronic illness have had childhood trauma, there's a major strong correlation with chronic illnesses that aren't getting better and childhood trauma. And that's a broad term too. It doesn't mean there's some overt thing that maybe you even identify. Just being raised in a society that tells you your value is outside of you is traumatic. Just being in a society that says being loved is conditional, being taken care of is conditional, is traumatic. And so this gets put into the nervous system, glitched in there. And then for many, many people, it's like 95%, there will be these adult onset severe illnesses, chronic disease. And so we want to look at, what am I still holding that once I can let that go and let that process, we have to digest the experience. It's not an option. If you keep holding on, it is going to show up in your life. Not maybe, not, well, if you're lucky, it is 100% certainty it's going to show up in your life, either as like, you don't have enough energy to live your life fully, or like, oh, my relationships never work out, or I never seem to have enough money, I'm always struggling, or it will show up in your health. So wherever it's lying, we can get to those roots. And we'll talk about this process today, but in the MindBody Solution for Chronic Fatigue program, which is a DIY, you do it in your own time, it walks you through, and one of those exercises is that digestion process. So you make space to let go of what you're holding. You can't do that until you digest it. I know it's nice to think, I'm over it, I'm just going to be positive, but it is physiologically impossible until the the old energy is digested. I'm not even going to say the trauma. I'm going to say the lesson, the learning gets received, and the old energy is digested. Then it's like, boom, yeah, it's an activation, and it's an ignition of power. Sarah, sending love. Thank you. Laura, I would love to manifest support in all the ways it can show up. Thank you. Laura from Pensacola, Florida. Jermaine, I would like to connect more with courage so I can go forth with inspired action in every aspect of life and actually have fun in life. Yes. Claudia, Cludster, wanting more awareness as opposed to fatigue, more joy and bliss. Awesome. Cindy, happy summer solstice day. Oh, I want to create my new beautiful home and a new fulfilling career by listening to my true self. Good. So getting in the energy of, yes, this is here for me, whether it's now, it's a year from now, it's 5 years from now, be in the energy of it received and reveling in. Like if you walk through, there's a lot of really beautiful hotels here and you'll see beautiful decor. Oh, the colors. Oh, I love that. You're letting your cells take it in. So it doesn't mean that's my bathroom that looks like that. That's my home, right? Versus like, oh, I wish I had this. I don't have this. You're not receiving it. You walk through, ooh, yeah, what else could life be like? Oh, this feels good. What does it feel like to just let in that luxury experience of when you walk through something or go on Pinterest and you look of like, what would that beautiful home look like? So you can do this right now. Pretty much all of you can do this right now and let it in. Oh, that's amazing. That feels good. What does it feel like to be in that space? You can only activate manifestation in the now. And so even more than like, I want to create it. Oh, I'm going to step into it every day for 5 minutes. I'm going to percolate in that energy. And I'm telling you guys, like unthinkable synchronicities happen with timing, with people, with opportunities, with money, with resources that get activated when you do this. Okay, so the first point, and let me just finish. Okay, we got Winnie from Denmark, Joe Spice from UK, Jen from Southern California. All right, and everyone else, I'm not going to necessarily go through all of them, but I'm so grateful that you're here. All right, Patty, I'm just on the precipice of finally receiving. I just have that resistance and lack of full belief. So, okay, the first piece is realizing we are creative beings. Our attention and our intention, putting energy into the intention and attention will equal our creation. And so does a lot of energy go into the, oh, but I don't have it. And oh, the grungy, right? That's not the same as the digestive process. That's like you're actually holding it and not letting it go. So once we do that process and really allow the release, whew, there's receptivity. Like you have a really good bowel movement and it flushes out, like, oh, and you feel your body clear. It's the same thing for your energy system. And so what you put your attention on creates. So is there something to release? Have compassion for yourself. Invite light into those spaces of density. You can do this with the breath. There's a lot in the MindBody solution for chronic fatigue and chronic illness home study program where I guide you specifically through those processes. It's easy, but everyone can do this now, right? So, okay, become aware of the complaint if that's where you are, right? It depends on what level you're at. You can only work with where you are. So that's sort of like, I guess, the second principle of manifestation. Your attention is creative. You're an electromagnetic being. You're a creative being. Source energy is flowing through you, and it is showing up in your world. So as you intend, so gets created. As you put your attention, so gets created. And the second one is, I just said it a minute ago. As within, so without, right? As where you're at, you have to only be where you're at. Now, I know we learn about like law of attraction and let me get to a higher frequency. Oh, if I could just get to that higher frequency, I'll create these amazing things, right? But then it's separate from where I am now. It can't happen that way. And I know it's not easy to fully embrace and embody where you are when it feels low, when it feels heavy, when it feels grungy. But that truly is the access point to activating creation. You have to be where you are. And so this month is our first month in the Embracing Health group for the individuals who are working with me throughout the year. And I've guided the group into the present moment more deeply as a daily practice. This is the core of everything. This is where you can allow everything to change. We'll be building on that through the year. This is the core foundation of this empowered, awakened work. You could put a Band-Aid on it. You can take medicine and just cover it up. But the energy has to move. It's going to come out in another area. It's going to come out, okay, I gave a bunch of antibiotics and I cured this disease, but now I got this other disease. And it's going to, like, you whack-a-mole and you've got this over here and you got that over there and you're like managing it, but you're not actually dissolving the root foundation. You have to be where you are. And so entering the moment, and again, there's a deeper exercise for those of you who have not come into the Embracing Health program to work with me live. You have the ability and the opportunity to do this on your own. There are home study courses we've created, and the MindBody solution for chronic fatigue and chronic illness is one of them that guides you through this process. And so, will I activate creative manifestation? How do I do it? There's processes and activities, very specific exercises, so that we can be more fully embodied where I am, as I am, how I am. The body can only live in the now. Can't live in a higher frequency. It can't live in a future reality. I can't live in an alternate universe. It can only be here. And so everything I'm resisting, you're just going to activate that. What you resist persists. So that's kind of the second piece, is get here now. Take a breath. Feel your body, right? You can touch your body physically. Hi, body. Here I am. How are you? Right? Tap on your heart. Take a few breaths. Sometimes being in the now is really heavy. Okay. Here I am in the heaviness. Here I am in sadness. Here I am in despair. That may be what's here. But if you avoid it, you, the creative power, aren't here. So you're not activating creative manifestation. Very, very important. Midnight Blue, about focusing on what we do have, and we live and love it. Joe, I'm on an improv solo walk, just seen a mansion, 5 to 9 bedroom possibility. I want to manifest well-being. Good. So something like that, you can let be a nidus for that abundance in a different area. So you're like, what would it be like to just have such potent well-being filling my body, activated throughout me? And then you see this amazing 9 bedroom mansion. Now, those seem like very different things, but you look, this expansive, like we're in how many bedrooms are in here? A lot of bedrooms. We've got 2 families traveling, a whole bunch of kids, and it's this beautiful, beautiful. We are so blessed to be in this unbelievable place that someone created, right? So someone created this. It feels so expansive to be here. We love cooking in the kitchen. We love serving the family and having our dinners together. Like, it is so amazingly, it's a blessing. And so can we receive that? Because it's here. What you want wants you. You've got to be a good receiver. And so that's a big piece, sort of like the third piece is receptivity. Okay, so we've got attention is creative. You are electromagnetic. Source energy moves through you. It's creative. Number 2 is get here now. You can only activate creation where you are, not over there, not later, not in a higher space, not once I raise my frequency, like only here. And then the third one is be a great receiver. And that has to do with trust. And another word I don't use frequently, because I think this word has like a lot of weirdness to it. But in the way that I'm going to use this word, it means allowing and letting go. And that word is faith. Can I trust my knowing above and beyond my thinking? Because my thinking, my seeing, my looking around is in the matrix. That can't happen. No one's ever done that. That's just not how it works. And it's in the programming, right? The program is, well, you have to do this in order for that to happen. You have to work hard. Money doesn't grow on trees. It goes this way, doesn't work that way. And a lot of rules and conclusions about like, well, once you're this old, it's all downhill. Or, well, if you're a woman, you're just never going to be treated fairly. Like there's a million and one conclusions, beliefs. And so when you're in the matrix, what you focus on expands. Those are going to be applied. When you let go, meaning soften your body, welcome those thoughts, right? What you resist persists, what you welcome, it will dissolve. And allow your knowing, even when it's not showing up. And so you can think of faith to encapsulate what I'm saying there, trusting. And I just think of receptivity, because if I'm like, well, yeah, but it can't happen that way. Well, yeah, but then this is just, yeah, I'm just wanting too much. It can't really happen, right? Then you're going to close the heart. And those sensory neuroreceptors that know, right? Infinite amounts of information. Oh, take a right-hand turn. It's going to work out really well. No. Surely that will be a bad thing. I've got to go left. And you kind of like, don't make those choices. Don't leave that job or situation or relationship, right? Because you're in the conclusions. You're not seeing with your true eyes and choosing with your true eyes. And so faith, trust, softness, receptivity is the major, major part of the equation that allows the activation of creative manifestation. It takes courage. Midnight Blue. I meant to say what we love, but yes, living it. LOL. All right. Way too heavy. Yes. So Louisa, if it's way too heavy, that's just a judgment. It's just freaking heavy. Oh my goodness. Wow. This is mad. So appreciation for the immensity of what's here now. You can do that. You can have appreciation for the effing crap that is like, oh, it's feels like it's too much, right? You don't have to believe it though. Nope, it's too much. I just can't do it. I have to avoid it. And you stay in the matrix and you stay in closure. And we've seen, as a doctor, I always like to share about the science, because medically we have seen that closure creates physiologically hormonal imbalance, immune system imbalance. You can't clear that Lyme disease or babesiosis or Epstein-Barr virus, right? Instead of like, the immune system is supreme, we clear it, right? It's just a tweak. Inflammation, inflammatory states. I can't eat foods. I can't tolerate foods. My system's so inflamed to the environment, and you're just all, autoimmune, or fill in the blank. We've seen medically that these states are hugely influenced, not subtly influenced. The most powerful influence is our own consciousness that will determine whether our system is in that fight or flight inflammatory state, closure, and the body can't heal, and we can't see resources, right? We've got to open. So attention, where your attention goes, your energy flows. You are creative. Be here now. You can only activate manifestation in the moment where you are. Be a receiver. Be a great receiver, even though there's fear, even though there's doubt, even though there's heaviness. Your breath will clear it. I feel very heavy while I'm in awareness, but I don't feel no emotion. I don't feel emotion. It's okay. You can show up in the now with what's here and not make it wrong. Because with this exercise that we're doing, which is in the MindBody solution for chronic fatigue, you're going to get here now, and you might not like it, but it will move because you're here. It will move because you're breathing. It will move because you've received it. Can't move when you resist it, when you protect against it, when you avoid it. It will move. So it's okay that when you get here in this now, this is not what I like. No, let me get out of this now. Let me go be in another now. Let me just escape. Don't do that. Don't do that, because it will move. I got an insight. My mind is only showing me what is lack of money, and it's keeping me stuck and in fear. Yeah, the mind will show you what is. When you drop in, so just like breathe the body, let everything go. feel, sense, enter the now, touch your body, skin on skin, increases your oxytocin, increases your serotonin, increases endorphins, natural painkillers. And you could talk to your body. Hi, body. How are you? Okay, here I am. Now I enter truth. Now I enter power. Now I enter the moment. So less energy in the matrix, more energy in the now. And since what you put your attention on is where your energy and creation goes, this is going to majorly shift what's showing up in your life. Make a noise to get into a higher frequency. I've been doing this law of attraction, trying to get into a higher frequency. It only left me exhausted. Yes, because you can't be somewhere other than where you are. But guess what? Showing up in this now, where it is, as it is, how it is an exponentially higher frequency than avoiding this now. This is the most important piece we can get. Showing up, receiving this now. Oh, it does feel heavy. Oh, there is so much fear. Bring in some compassion, because some of what's in the system right now might be really dense. But if you keep avoiding it, it's just going to grow. That is the most powerful step you can possibly make to truly increasing your frequency, right? Versus like temporary escape. Oh, it was just so good. I've got to get back there. Nothing is stagnant. Everything is changing. So as soon as you think, oh, I'm there, it's like, oh no, I lost it. It's conditional. All we need to do is re-enter the now, get really good at entering the now. Here I am, breathing what I'm feeling what I'm feeling, experiencing what I'm feeling, receiving what's here, right? Just practice that one thing. Be a better receiver. Got to be soft body, more full breath, even just 2% more full than it was a moment ago, is a higher frequency than closure. So you've got to invite yourself to that. And yeah, it takes a lot of courage. So give yourself like a huge round of applause. Bells are ringing. Oh, I'm a human being, and I am choosing to receive this journey instead of avoid this journey. Wow. Right? Give yourself some appreciation. Give yourself some validation, right? This has been really hard. I'm so grateful and thankful I've chosen to breathe through it and show up here and have my experience. What you resist persists. If you are willing to have your experience, your system will digest it. That's how it happens. That's how growth happens. That's how learning happens. And it moves it out. Just like poop. Everybody poops. All right. I want to open up to creating a life that feels juicy and full of fun, lightness, and creativity. Yeah. And that acknowledgement of like, wow, it is challenging to show up with some of the things that are here. Because most of the stuff that's here, like if you haven't been showing up in full consciousness for decades of your life, is going to be residues. So like the first few days might be like, whoa, this is really heavy. Oh, more breath, more self approval, acknowledgement. I love you. You're doing awesome. Thank you. Right? Ho'oponopono. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. You do that mantra to the self who's hurt, who feels wounded, who has felt slighted, who's felt abandoned by life. Right? There's that self who really believes she has to close. So love her. All right. Mary Kay got off adrenal glandulars, but I'm experiencing horrible adrenaline surges. Any recommendations? So the MindBody solution for chronic fatigue and chronic illness, we call it chronic fatigue and brain fog, but it's really chronic fatigue and chronic illness will walk you through the processes that allow the body to regenerate to its highest capacity. And so fill in the blank with disease of the moment. Your system, the wisdom that created you, the source energy that courses through you, knows how to rebalance your system back to health. We don't have to micromanage that. And when we go through these processes of removing those obstacles, we allow that health and that life force to come in and do its job. Will the course for chronic fatigue work for autoimmune disease? Yes, that is exactly what it was designed for. And that's one of the major pieces I've studied extensively, as well as lived through myself, that had me get on this whole trajectory of really learning about how our consciousness creates our cellular health, how our consciousness is being expressed in our cellular health. And so autoimmune is like the body fighting itself. I was in this big fight against everything. I've got to make sure to succeed because I'm so sure I'll be a failure. I've got to make sure to overcome, because I don't want to be a loser. Like there was a lot of judgment in my system, like that duality of like success or a failure. That's a duality. It's not your truth. So your body's got to go in battle against itself. So once I let that go, it was days that my body completely healed the autoimmune disease. Now, those days came after years of having learned about this. I'd learned for years. I'd read every book on mind, body, medicine you could possibly imagine for decades of my life. I was very young when I had this awakening experience and began to see how the body works in a much, much deeper way. So I read everything I could possibly get my hands on. But years later in medical school, I had an autoimmune disease. That gave me nothing. It was like, it was a book. It was a mind. It didn't actually have the tools. It didn't move the mountain, right? I'm like, mind over matter. I've got to heal myself, right? But it didn't actually get me there because now I'm just fighting the disease. Until I became receptive, none of that energy moved. When I became receptive, all of that energy shifted, all of it. And it was literally days that my body was completely free from disease for once and for all and for good. So yeah, it was years of learning and learning. But when it actually happened, for about a year and a half, I just fought it with everything I had and everything I'd learned. But I hadn't become receptive. I was still resisting the experience because I was so afraid it would just shut me down forever. I had to overcome this. I couldn't let it take over, right? So that's a battle. Battling your body, you're both going to lose. And so, yes, that's in the Mind Body Solution for Chronic Fatigue, or all of those processes of how I allowed my system to unwind that, and how I've shown thousands of people now to initiate that within yourself, because we all have access to this. We look separate, but we're all created from the same source. And we all are of the same nature. So whatever is showing up, whatever disease, the nature that comes through us has got it covered. We don't need to micromanage it. All right, you guys, I'm at drkimd.com. And I would love a list of the books you liked best on mind, body, medicine. In Embracing Health, there's part of that where there's a recommended reading list of a lot of books that have made a huge difference to me. I studied, Joan Borisenko was one of the first teachers I had. I was still in college, and she was teaching out of Harvard a whole lot about mind, body, medicine, even back in the 80s. And she's really a pioneer. I am hoping to meet her someday and interview her for MindBody TV. Maybe that will happen in the end of the year. And get like a good interview series together for other people who really made a difference for me in my life, who were pioneers for this, you guys. It was like, I remember the first time I saw her speak, it was this annual dental conference. My dad was an oral surgeon, and he spoke at this conference every year. It's one of the largest worldwide dental conferences in Boston, the Yankee Dental Conference. And it was like 1993 or something. And there were a bunch of people in there, and I was completely captivated by every word she said. And then the next year we're back again, and I thought, oh, is she going to be here? And we found her, and we went to see the talk, and it was like packed. And then the next year she's back again. And they took down the walls, opened up the biggest ballroom they had, and there was standing room only. And I felt so encouraged. So here were all these doctors, there were dentists and doctors who were fascinated by this, just as I had been. I was in my 20s, but I'd been studying this stuff since I'm 16, or studying about how consciousness affects our health and our reality. So to find a doctor speaking about this was life-altering for me and so deeply encouraging. So she had a recommended reading list, and I just read everything. Herbert Benson is another awesome person too. But this is like older stuff too. There's a lot of newer stuff, so you can kind of do your own research. But for those of you who are embracing health, there's a book list I've put together that I recommend. It's not essential. Go easy with yourself along this journey, right? It's like you can be where you are, but do it with tenderness. I wasn't doing it with tenderness. I was doing it with fierceness. I've got to overcome. I've got to achieve, right? That's what created the autoimmune disease. So as within, so without. But if we can get receptive, once I got receptive, it was like that. I was completely aware of what I was doing that was creating all of that inflammation. And once you're aware, it's easy. Oh, okay. Let's let that go. I do not want to do that. I do not need to be that way. I do not need to be like that with myself and with my life. I became much more receptive, much more gentle, and much more surrendered, right? That's, I'd say, the key to the whole equation. Can I surrender to let life live me instead of me trying to white knuckle it and do my agenda? Because what the heck do you know, right? Billions and billions of years of existence. Yes, Borisenko, thank you. And Herbert Benson. I met Joan Borisenko when I worked at the Omega Institute in the early 90s. I was the faculty coordinator. She was an angel. Her room wasn't ready, and she was so kind. Her energy is amazing. I love her. Maybe you can introduce me, Silky Heart. Okay. All right. I love you guys. Thank you. I will be here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time for MindBody TV, in the MindBody community in Facebook, and in Dr. Kim Duramo page in YouTube. Give us a like, subscribe in YouTube. This really helps more people find this work. And the more people who are ready and awakening, the more powerful world we have, right? It's in you. Keep opening. Trust, surrender, allow. You can ask questions from our mentors in the MindBody community. They're standing by to assist you in this work, especially if you are in one of our DIY home study programs. There may be questions that come up, and we want to guide you through this work. All right. Yes, receiving is the same as welcoming everything. Very bold move. The mind is like, no, we can't. There's bad things. And the truth knows the resilience that I am is beyond all of it. So you will move through things and gain strength for having done so. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Thank you. Again, the author for this week is at drkimd.com/CF. Oops, there we go. For the DIY home study program that guides you much deeper into this process. All right, for now, today, stay soft, keep breathing, love yourself more, and welcome the moment. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. This is one of my greatest gifts and greatest joys, is being able to connect with you this way. So I'm so grateful to have this community and to share this. It makes me more alive.